Hi, and welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with
Sean,
Chris, and Lee.
Abnormal service has been resumed. Good week off, Lee?
All right. Yeah, it was fine. Oddly enough, I said to you guys that I fucking hadn't slept. I felt fucking awful. Lay in bed and then proceeded to lie there wide awake till about 12:30 at night before I could fall asleep.
That's
Still feeling
You've disappeared.
awful. My brain wasn't working. Have I?
Oh, you're back now.
you're there now.
Yeah, my brain hasn't. My brain wasn't even working properly. It wasn't right. For those listeners that didn't know what happened, I had a gig on Sunday, and I really enjoyed it, and I came home a little bit hyped about it. Couldn't sleep, and then when I checked my sleep tracker the next day, I'd slept for approximately 28 minutes. But to be fair, it was 28 minutes undisturbed sleep.
Oh, good. Good. Quality sleep in the end, then.
I mean, if that had happened a week later, you could have just watched the Belgian Grand Prix to...
Hey, I wanted to go to sleep, not slip into a coma.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't the best of races, was it?
Worst
I
Belgian
loved the
Grand Prix
Belgian.
ever?
I've
Hard to
already...
say, because I can't remember all of them, but yeah, it wasn't one of the most exciting ones, was it? It was,
Yeah, I think I've
fairly
already forgotten
processional.
most of it.
yeah,
Oh.
that'll happen.
Well, we'll remind ourselves now and we can go through it.
Ah,
Segue there?
yes.
Yeah, more interesting than anything that happened yesterday. Right, starting at the back, Williams. Latifi 16th, not last.
No, 16th out of 17 finishes, I think.
Yeah. It's kind of an improvement. I mean, George Russell was saying earlier on in the week that the Williams car was draggy in a straight line. So, to be faster than something at Belgium, that's kind of... It's an improvement. I'm trying to find positives here.
Yeah. Yeah, trying to find positives is difficult, isn't it? It did look like he made it very difficult for people to get past, because he made some places up at the beginning, didn't he? And then we saw some on board footage of I think it was Vettel after a pit stop, after the pit stops, after when the safety car happened. Did he find himself right in the back?
Yeah, he was in a Ferrari.
But I think Vettel at one point had to pass Latifi, and Latifi gave him his due. Didn't make it easy, even though Ferrari didn't have a great race at all. So yeah, I mean, Williams are, repeating ourselves again. Williams are in the fight for potential points when anything goes wrong.
I think it needs potential points when stuff goes wrong, but you need stuff to go wrong and a crash at the start of the race. You need a couple of teams taken out, don't you?
Like a '98 Belgium is what they could have done with that, rather than and just who would have played the part of Ricardo Rosset?
Giovinazzi.
Romain Grosjean.
No.
Oh, harsh. Obviously, on the other side of the garage, George Russell did have a crash. And
Unavoidable, do
a
we
pretty
think?
scary one.
It was a scary one.
I mean, he said himself it was unavoidable. He said there was nowhere he could go. If he went to the right, he was going to hit Giovinazzi side on. And if he went to the left, there was the barrier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, a bouncing wheel comes across the track at you. You kind of... It's a lottery, really, isn't it? As to where is it going to hit, how's it going to bounce. Not a great deal you can do with that.
It's another one of those situations where you see something like that happen, and you're happy we have halos,
Absolutely, there could have been a really bad accident had that wheel bounced up and hit George on the head. But yeah, as we say, it confused me at first because Russell was going towards the barrier, already with one of his wheels off, and I was just like, how has he done that without hitting anything? But yeah, he hit Giovinazzi's loose wheel, which sent him off the track anyway.
Yeah, I mean, until they showed the onboards, I didn't have a clue what was happening because
No, it was scary.
there was there was a pile of cars at the side of the road. Then they showed the replay of Russell going off with a wheel in the air, and it was like, oh shit, have they collided first? And is this carrying on round the corner? It was just after the apex, wasn't it?
Yeah, I couldn't tell where it was on the circuit either. I thought at first it was a Blanchimont, the really fast left-hander, up towards the bus stop, but it turned out it wasn't. It was a fairly slowish point of the circuit, but God, if that had been like, similar to the accident of what happened with Antoine Hubert and Correa the year before in F2, that would have been there were some questions asked, to put it that way.
Yeah, I think they've made massive changes to Radeon to make sure that doesn't happen again. They've now got more supported barriers so that cars won't get spat out onto the racing line or even onto the runoff. Yeah, because that runoff at Radeon does see a hell of a lot of use.
Yeah, it's a very fast point in the circuit, and you're changing direction in the car very quickly as well. So you're going to have people on the runoff quite often. But luckily, as I say, the accident between Giovinazzi and Russell was at the chicane, where on the exit of the chicane, which is comparatively fairly slow part of the circuit, but for a car to still hit the barrier and bounce out across the road, or parts of it to bounce out across the road. Just not ideal, really.
No. Looks like more work's needed on the wheel tethers. Giovinazzi has said things about his crash, which we'll get to when we do the Alfa Romeo bit, which is quite a way down for them.
Yes, but Williams, not much more to say, really.
Not really.
They were there,
looking okayish on Saturday, and then not on Sunday.
Yeah, that's fair to say.
Story of the season. Right, now, we've got all three Ferrari-powered teams, one after the other at the back. Start with Haas. K-Mag in 17th, Grosjean in 15th.
What happened to Magnussen to make him last of the runners? Did he have a
Ferrari engine?
Yeah, I mean... No, but... Yeah, I thought the same as you.
He had an off during quali, didn't he? Where he nearly binned it.
So he was at the back anyway, wasn't he? Because he went wide on what would have been his fast lap in Q1.
Yeah, so he started at the back, but I mean, he didn't make any headway. And Magnussen, he got
up to 15th by the end of lap 1.
He started well, but I don't know exactly how he managed to shuffle to the back.
I think what happened was during the safety car they double stacked and he lost time.
Oh, god damn it. So one of those missing out sort of things.
Because he was he was running all right early on. Because I remember putting on Discord like, how the hell did Magnussen gain 4 places?
Well, one of them didn't start the race, so.
Well, no, he was 5 places up on where he on his grid position.
Yeah.
So he'd actually passed 4 cars on track.
Yeah, well, he usually has a good first lap, doesn't he, Magnussen?
Yeah, I think Crofty said something about he always gains places, and he's done that every race this season.
That's Giovinazzi who's gained places, and that's because he qualifies poorly.
Ah.
I would agree with Sean.
But yeah, he started well and then just completely tailed off.
Yeah. And then the other pass of Romain Grosjean, did we actually see him at any point during the race doing anything other than getting in people's way when it was time to be lapped?
I don't remember him at all.
Did we see Grosjean and Vettel having a bit of a fight at one point on track?
I don't think so. I think I remember thinking like, oh, here comes a Ferrari trying to pass Grosjean, and then it happened fairly amicably.
Yeah, I mean, because they all would have been passed as well by the fact that the 2 drivers that didn't stop for the safety car pits were Perez and Gasly, weren't they? So when they pitted later on, then they would have had coming through the field, they would have been passed by them. But the Ferrari-powered teams were not difficult to pass this weekend.
Nah, so Haas win the anonymous Sauber Award of the Week.
apart from the fact that Anonymous Sauber are now Alfa Romeo. But yes, they win the Anonymous Sauber award.
Right, now the Ferrari-powered team that's easiest to pass, Ferrari. Fuck, where do we start? Well, Vettel 13th, Leclerc 14th.
They cheated really, really badly last year, didn't they?
Well, they cheated
they did
really,
it very,
really
very
well.
And now we're finding out how much they needed to cheat.
And the other thing that makes you wonder is how long they were cheating for.
Yeah.
Somebody.
How far does this go back?
Somebody said, is it possible that part of the punishment, that obviously we don't get to find out what it is, because we don't get to find out how they were cheating, is that they've got to run the engine on reduced power for X number of races this season?
But if that was a punishment against the team, they wouldn't be able to enforce that against their customer teams because they had done nothing wrong. And yet we see all three of the Ferrari-powered teams dancing around at the back.
They wouldn't get a punishment just like, you've got to do this so you look stupid. It's just the fact that it's shit. The engine's shit. And it makes, like I said, it makes you wonder whether... You know when we first saw Vettel with the opportunity to maybe try and challenge for a championship a few years ago? Was that it? Was this their fix to try and catch up with Mercedes?
Maybe conspiracy theory.
Go back?
Maybe Vettel was the one cheating, and now they've been caught, and that's why he's got to go.
Maybe. He said he built the entire engine.
Yep, he likes to tinker, doesn't he? He's got all his old mopeds and stuff like that. He's a hands-on tinkerer.
He is a practical god amongst manshed owners.
The Tinker Man.
Blame Vettel, starting it now.
Nah, I'm not sure about that at all.
I'm being entirely serious.
Of course.
Yeah. You're also being entirely evil by stroking a cat while you're saying that. You just need like a swivel chair.
So is it Bruno?
It is Bruno. Bruno is here.
Audio.
Yeah, Bruno is a white cat as well, so that looks even more sinister. A little bit Blofeld going on there.
But yeah, the engine has just gone to pieces. Did the cheating part of it control all the speed?
Yes, clearly.
Well, it was clearly. There are more problems than just the engine with Ferrari. Paul di Resta, I spotted on Sky, was saying that he knows that Ferrari brought updates to Belgium, but they don't work. But they don't understand why they don't work or in what area they're not working. So,
that suggests there's a real design flaw in that car if they can't make their upgrades work.
Well, if you remember, we thought that after a little while when these new rings came out, was it last year? And we thought that Alfa Romeo and Ferrari had gone down this sort of totally different path, and oh my god, if they've chosen the right path, are we going to see a Ferrari total dominance here? And it turned out that it wasn't the right path, but yet Ferrari stuck with it, and we're still up at the front. They won this race last year, so how far? What I want to know is how far back does this cheating go? Because if this goes back to 2017 when they changed the rules for the aero rules, if this goes back to then, they are now not only down on power back to 2017 levels, but they now don't understand how that power unit works with 2020 aero.
See, I don't think it goes back to the beginning of the rules. Maybe 2 years in though, when they've been trying to catch up and trying to play the game and just clearly didn't have the technical ability, if you want, that Mercedes had to do what they did, and
so
then
maybe 2019 when they got caught was when they were cheating, because I think it might go back further than that.
Well, 2017 is when they suddenly started looking like challengers, wasn't it? That would make sense.
I think it goes.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It does make sense. Yeah. That would make sense, as well as why it's being kept under wraps so much, because if all of a sudden you have a sport like Formula One, with the money that's involved as well, for the other teams and stuff that have missed out on like championship positions and stuff because Ferrari had been up there with a car that shouldn't be there. It would make sense why they wanted to keep it so quiet because the repercussions are huge.
Yeah, I mean, they could find themselves getting sued by, well, probably Renault because they like to protest everything, and Racing Point as well, possibly, for losing places.
I mean, every team that finished behind Ferrari, they were probably protest that in 2017, 2018, and 2019.
Well, I mean, you talk about people that want to protest as well. Christian Horner loves a protest. When he got married, he stuck his hand up when they said, "Has anybody got any problems with this?"
The thing was, though, he was already second in the queue at the steward's office because Ron Dennis had beat him to it.
I'm surprised. I thought I was going to go a different way. I was going to say, mate, he married Jelly Halley. Well, he was well more than second in the queue.
And I don't think Ron Dennis was first.
But he was definitely in the queue at some point.
So, individual Ferrari performances.
Leclerc had an issue, didn't he? He had to have the pneumatic pressure in his engine topped up, like during a pit stop.
Oh, all that will tell you later business.
Yeah, they did then say it was something to do with pneumatic something or other.
Can I just point out as well? Ferrari seem to they have this massive disconnect at the moment, don't they, between like their drivers and like their pit wall. Like the chatting on team radio, and I know it's creatively edited, so it's not all going to be doom and gloom for them. But like this thing's like, well, Charles, we're looking at either Plan B or Plan C. We'll let you know. And then he comes back on. He's like, well, they're very different plans. So would you like to tell me which one you choose so I know how to drive? Yeah, we'll tell you when we've chosen. And then like it's kind of none of his business. It's just like, well, excuse me, he's the man in the car. He should probably know what you're planning. And Vettel as well, telling the radio, telling them on the radio, this is it now, no more fucking pit stops.
Yeah, I mean, shouldn't they be the ones to say, right, that was your last stop?
Yeah, they should. And Charles stops the car, and it's like a 5-second stationary stop before they let him go, and he's like, whoa, what went on there? We'll tell you later. No, fucking tell him now. Like he's not distracted during the race.
Because they told Jenny Gao pretty much straight away. It was her who tweeted it a couple of minutes later that it was all to do with pneumatic fluid topping up stuff. So it wasn't a secret that everyone will have seen that.
Yeah, but the person who was in the dark was the man on the track, and it should be the other way around. Like they should have said before the stop. Actually, we've noticed there's a pressure drop. We'll top you up when you stop. It'll be a couple of seconds extra. Don't panic. Everything's fine. And and then after he leaves the pits, is everything okay? Yeah, we're keeping an eye on it. We'll let you know if you need to worry. That should have been the thing, not just like we'll tell you later. This is a guy who's supposed to be staying with you for the next 4-5 years. Like you've locked him in for a lifelong contract, and you're just going to be like, "Sorry, mate, not telling you."
How must he feel? Like, yeah, I thought this as well the other day, especially for Carlos Sainz. You know, is it right for a team like Ferrari to sign drivers under the pretense of what they've been doing when they've been cheating like that?
I can see what you mean. Hopefully, the drivers have a clause in their contract with some sort of performance-based as well.
I don't think Carlos Sainz is worth enough for... I mean, I don't mean that negatively towards his driving, but I don't think he's done enough to have like the Verstappen clauses in his contract.
No, not quite that extreme. But like if the car is like, it's not going to be like that watertight either. But I mean, Charles Leclerc must have something like, well, a Ferrari finish, outside the points for an entire season, and it's purely down based on car. Like he could leave, he can go wherever he wants. There may be something in that, but it's going to be a long 5 years
Not only a long 5 years. Like, I mean, I've always said that I don't think Charles Leclerc will ever be a world champion anyway. But that I don't think if he stays at Ferrari, and Ferrari can't sort their issues out, which I mean, I don't understand how they're going to, because it's kind of like the Honda and McLaren situation there. You know, like Honda had to do something different to get something out of their car, and you know it's worked better with Red Bull, but that's been having like a Red Bull and a slave car to run, you know, whatever they want.
That's the thing. Next year's Ferrari really has to be just a test car to fix that power unit for the new regulations in 2022. Because otherwise, what the fuck are you doing?
But the problem is, next year's Ferrari is this year's Ferrari.
And the other problem is the engines aren't changing in 2022 either, are they? That's been stopped. So, you see, what I think might be Ferrari's biggest downfall here is the fact that the downforce is going to get stripped off these cars. I mean, even next year they're going to lose 10% downforce. I think Ferrari are working with less downforce because their engine isn't efficient. Because obviously for downforce to work, you need the speed on straights, but more importantly, you need the acceleration through corners as well to make that downforce work for you.
Yeah.
So the only way that they could actually stick the car to the ground more is introduce more drag effect on the car, which then makes you even slower on the straights.
Yep. Just for the record, just so everyone's clear, I think this is fucking glorious. So no one's under any confusion here. I'm more than happy about what's going on.
There's a lot of people that aren't, if you look at the internet, but on the other side of the coin, there are a lot of people that really are.
I wouldn't mind. I mean, for Ferrari, I'm still bitter about Schumacher being a cheat. So you know they got like,
and that was even before he'd set foot in a Ferrari.
I know, but you had the Villeneuve thing, and then the little incident where he was in Mercedes, wasn't he? Where he tried to put Barrichello in the wall. So yeah. But and Rob and Eddie Irvine have a championship as well, or the chance to win a championship.
But you're not bitter.
I'm not bitter at all. I just have a very good memory.
Right, try and remember what Alfa Romeo did during the race, apart from Giovinazzi. So basically, Kimi.
Didn't say it was magic.
Kimi Raikkonen passed Sebastian Vettel on genuine pace track.
That just shouldn't be a thing.
No.
I mean, this was the 1000th Grand Prix with Ferrari power in it.
Was it? Are we sure there was Ferrari power in this one? Are we sure it wasn't just like one half-dead horse?
Well, they were there.
Yeah. Whether they were bringing the power.
Yeah. But the kind of keeping quiet until the Mugello race, aren't they? Which is their 1000th race in Formula One. But the really painful thing for Ferrari will be watching Kimi Raikkonen overtake Sebastian Vettel for 12th place. And normally you would go, Ferrari will come through the field. Nope. They finished where they qualified, just the other way around.
Yeah. That's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing that they were incapable of scoring points, incapable of doing it.
When you look at teams like AlphaTauri, yes.
When you look at teams like Alfa Romeo, who have had a dog of a car this year,
yeah.
and Kimi this weekend appeared to get the most out of the lump that he was given in the back of the car.
Well, he is the king of Spa.
I'm sorry to whoever tweeted this to me. So I can't remember who it was to give you a shout out, but somebody tweeted me saying those red Williamses aren't looking too good this weekend.
I still think the Caterhams. You know, it's a massive joke.
Red Caterham.
Yeah, Binotto will pull the mask off and it'll be Tony Fernandez in disguise.
Oh.
Yeah. Like, like even the mainstream media are now starting to talk about it, aren't they? The mainstream F1 media is talking like, how long till that axe starts swinging over Binotto's head? Because it's a performance like this in Monza I know we've gone back to Ferrari here, but when
it's
you've got
the story of the weekend, if we're honest.
Yeah, when you've got Alfa Romeo, who Giovinazzi, fine, he binned it in his calls the safety car, but he was running ahead of Raikkonen when he did bin it, and then Raikkonen goes and passes definitely one, I think possibly both Ferraris on pace, and Alfa are supposed to be like a little brother team of Ferrari with much less than half the budget that Ferrari are throwing at Formula One. And Kimi, who's their old driver, just turns up and goes like, "Sorry lads, see you later. This 12th place is mine."
That just shouldn't be a thing.
No, it shouldn't.
Really.
It's gone back. Like, I can remember when Ferrari were this rubbish in like the early 90s, but you know, it was normal then. It hasn't been normal since ever since, basically.
Oh, quick note on Kimi. I know we try and stay away from this sort of stuff, but I've seen loads of it on Twitter. His mask, he's not got an iron cross on his mask. It's a designer. I believe it's part of a sponsorship, and it's I believe it's something to do with the Finnish Air Force. So I think it might be a nod to his national service as well.
You can buy the official Kimi Raikkonen mask from his West Coast collection.
Yeah,
they are €9.95.
F1 store.
Yeah, no, there's just been a load of, because the same thing happened with the I think the designer at Shouts 2 designed a jacket for PewDiePie as well, and last year there was a massive uproar because PewDiePie supposedly had a jacket with an iron cross on it. And it was, again, exactly the same situation as Kimi Raikkonen, where people just aren't fashion aficionados like myself.
Well, thank you for that update on the sort of sartorial elegance of the drivers.
Good word.
Giovinazzi did say on his crash, by the way, that he was pushing on the limit, and sometimes mistakes happen.
So he ran out of talent.
Pretty much sounds like, yeah, that was my fault.
Stamped on the loud pedal too soon.
Yeah.
At least he was pushing. We can't accuse him of that all the time.
True.
There was a debate on Discord on Sunday whether his power is in his man bun or not.
It's not in his engine.
Hey.
Right, McLaren next. Data forget for Sainz.
Weird one for Carlos Sainz. Was it an exhaust split or something?
There was a problem with the turbo that caused the exhaust to split, from what I've read.
Yeah, and this is all before the race starts.
Yeah. So he didn't even start. He got DNS, didn't he? He did not start. And has anybody seen the interview with Lando Norris, where he was being asked, "Oh, what did you think when your teammate doesn't even start the race? Does it worry you?" Lando's response was, "Nah, I'm already thinking I'm one place up."
Good, correct answer.
I mean, of course, the joke being, and yes, I'm going back 2 teams here, but it'll get him used to next season, spending a Sunday afternoon in the garage after his car breaks.
Before the beginning of the race.
Yeah.
In fairness, is the Ferrari unreliable? That might be one thing
it's not fast enough to be unreliable.
Yeah, but it's not breaking down.
Nah, they'll find another fault to install in it for next year.
Do you know what else isn't breaking down?
Go
Statues.
On. Right.
Okay.
Any further information on that, or?
Well, they don't have to do anything, so they're never going to break down.
That's true. They don't go fast enough to break down.
Okay, good.
That took a little bit of lateral thought getting. So anyway, Lando. I was disappointed we didn't get a last lap Lando lunge.
He did, didn't he?
Oh, it was unsuccessful.
Wide.
He blamed Sainz for it.
Yeah, probably. But yeah,
Do you
no,
know
he
what?
did try to go for something on the last corner and did not work.
No, he was not allowed to use any different engine modes for. I think they were protecting his engine against what happened with Carlos Sainz's pre-race. So he had the same engine mode for the entire race. So he's already one race ahead of the rules. So he wasn't given that scenario 7, which we saw in Austria when he got that podium at the beginning of the season. Whereas Ocon and who was ahead of him? Was it Ocon and Ricardo? No, it was Ocon
yes.
Ocon, Ricardo.
It was
Ocon,
Albon,
Albon it was,
Ocon,
wasn't it?
Ricardo.
Yeah, it was Albon and Ocon, wasn't it? Sorry, that were squabbling ahead, and both Albon and Ocon were given superior engine modes to use, whereas Lando couldn't change his. So he did a pretty solid job of getting to 7th and almost sort of redeeming himself for the breakdown last year.
I'm trying to remember what happened to him last year.
He
he
broke
was running
down
5th.
literally on like the last lap.
Oh, he
didn't
did. Oh, it's broken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I'd forgotten that was Belgium. But yeah, another solid performance for him, and again, just really good to see McLaren up there doing things.
Yeah, I mean, was it a false dawn at the beginning of the season? Do you think that they were almost at the top, or is it just these higher speed circuits?
I think it's
I
a little
think
bit of both.
Both.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
'cause
they came better prepared than maybe some other teams who've now caught up a little bit, like Renault, and as well, I think their car maybe just doesn't suit this circuit as well as some of the other ones.
Yeah. I'm not sure what downforce McLaren were running, but the McLaren that finished the race finished ahead of both racing points, which I didn't foresee pre-race weekend. But obviously we know that Renault were running a really low downforce setting in preparation for, much like AlphaTauri, in preparation for Monza. But had it rained, that would have totally fucked those two teams up. But it turns out they both had pretty good races.
Yeah, just wondering if Ferrari were actually banking on rain or praying for it.
That would sound about right.
I did surmise that on Twitter, but I don't know. I just think maybe the car is just bad.
We're comparing everyone to Ferrari in a bad way. Right, AlphaTauri next. Gasly in 8th, Kvyat in 11th. Gasly was looking good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
very
he
solid.
is looking good.
He's definitely better than he was in the first part of last season, and I think he's actually beating where he was in the second half of last season as well in the Toro Rosso.
Do you think he's doing well enough to put Albon under pressure?
I don't know. That's the thing. I mean, the pressure on the number 2 Red Bull driver is immeasurable. And I don't think it matters what anyone behind him in the team's doing, or behind him in the organisation's doing. Because who knows the way that Marco's brain works?
That's very true.
Yeah, Corona Camp. Yeah, I think for me, he's doing well. I don't think he's doing enough to show that the switch that we saw this time last year needs reversing again. I think he's... I see no reason why he wouldn't have the same struggles that Albon has had.
I think Gasly is doing well enough to convince other teams that if they need a driver and he gets dumped from the Red Bull program again, he would be a good signing.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, he could end up being a Sainz.
Yeah. You know, you could...
I don't think... Sorry, I was just about to say, I don't think he's good enough to go back into the Red Bull.
No.
And you've got to wonder if you'd actually want to. If they'd done that to you before, they'd be more or less guaranteed to do it again, because you'd get the same. You'd get the same amount of pressure. You know, why aren't you as good as Max in a car that we've designed for him?
Yeah, only this time it's even further down the road than you were last year. So now you've got even further to catch up. If you catch me.
Yeah. I think going back to Red Bull would probably kill his career off. Staying in AlphaTauri until another team came in for him would be the best move.
Yeah, as long as he's still there next year. That's the thing with AlphaTauri, isn't it? It's you haven't got the there's no stability there. If you're only on rolling year-to-year contracts, at any minute should, like you say, a certain squinty old man make a fancy to a different driver, you could lose your seat without chance to get another one.
Realistically, there's only going to be potentially one member of the Red Bull Junior program that would have enough points for a super license for next year to replace one of AlphaTauri, and I think it would probably be Kvyat. But that's also going off the assumption that Albon won't lose his seat and get sent back down to AlphaTauri. That is true.
They'd only do that though, wouldn't they? If they had someone to cast iron replace Alex Albon with, so
like a Perez or a Vettel or a Hülkenberg.
Yeah. But so they wouldn't put they wouldn't just. Yeah, sorry, I can't get my words out. They wouldn't just spit out one of their AlphaTauri drivers to put Albon back there unless they had like somebody better to put into Red Bull straight away.
Like a Perez or a Hulkenberg or a Vettel.
Yes. Yeah. I still think the reason Vettel hasn't signed for Aston Martin is because there's still a chance to go back to Red Bull. I think if there wasn't a chance for him to go somewhere else that's better than Aston Martin, I think he'd have already signed that contract.
I see somebody saying this about Mercedes as well on Twitter. Mm-hmm. Did you have a conversation with someone, Lee?
No, what was that? If I did, I can't remember.
Somebody saying that he must a chance at Mercedes would be better than Aston Martin. Exactly what you just said then, but using Mercedes instead of Red Bull.
Oh yeah, but I mean, having Mercedes are all wrapped up anyway, aren't they?
No, Hamilton hasn't signed.
No. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, he will, won't he? He will. But
it's more or less guaranteed. I think the only reason Hamilton hasn't actually signed is he does all his own negotiations, so he doesn't have people handling it while he's off busy doing Lewis Hamilton things.
And also, the longer you leave it, the more bargaining power you've got, haven't you?
When you keep winning races week in, week out, yeah.
And he could be waiting to see if Toto signs, and it might be this massive standoff, and Mercedes completely lose out because Toto's saying, "I'm not signing till Lewis does." Lewis says, "I'm not signing till Toto does." And then before we...
That would be weird, because I'm pretty sure they talk to each other a lot.
And then before we know it, Eddie Jordan's in charge, and Ricardo Rossitt's made a comeback, and he's number one driver, because that's all that was left.
I don't know that Eddie Jordan is the natural replacement for Toto.
Why?
All right, Dave Richards then.
Oh no. Peter Stringfellow of motorsport.
Christ.
Oh God.
I suspect as well the Vettel potential holdout with Racing Point could be waiting to see what happens with their brake duct appeal. Because if they end up having to go back to square one for next year, that might not be a fun car to drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ferrari is still appealing against the decision.
Yeah, that's Ferrari. What else they got going on?
Yeah, I think they're the only they're the only team left now that are actually appealing the initial
punishment.
Decision. Yeah. Well, okay. Racing Points are appealing the punishment from the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody else has dropped their appeal for the punishment. After the FIA would have spoken to them, I'm guessing. So the FIA may have sort of warned the teams off from continuing with their protests for some reason. But because Ferrari is Ferrari, it's just like, whatever.
Yeah, we don't think anyone should appeal. We're vetoing that.
We are vetoing the appeal. We're vetoing their own appeal. Only Ferrari.
Where were we? Oh yeah, AlphaTauri. Kvyat.
Didn't see him do anything.
Again, bit anonymous.
Yeah.
Nothing. I mean, it was a difficult race to remember, but not a great deal sticks in my mind.
Yeah, I can't remember Kvyat doing it. Just finished outside the points, didn't he? I think.
Yeah, finished 11th. And is that about the best you can say?
I think, yeah.
Pretty much. It was an okay race for AlphaTauri. I thought they did all right. Says something, doesn't it, when, and I know we're going back to it yet again, when Red Bull's second team is faster than Ferrari's first team.
Jesus, yeah, that's...
I refer to my previous glorious.
Oh, in fact, I'll tell you one thing I do remember about Kvyat. He was fastest in the speed trap, was he not?
Oh, was he?
I'm sure he was.
Fair enough.
Yeah, Honda, good in a straight line.
Yeah, fair play, Danny Kvyat.
No, right, that's not too bad. Right, from the Red Bull second team to the Mercedes second team.
Ooh.
Or not the pink Merc.
Yeah.
Somebody came up with a theory, Neaton, on Discord this weekend. Were Racing Point running underweight in testing to actually bag sand everyone?
Well, we've accused them of doing that before, haven't we? Because when Charles was driving for them, even before they copied Mercedes, they were topping the timesheets by quite a long way.
So, was all the pre-season hype justified in the end? And it's looking like not. Ninth and 10th. And, Stroll was running well in 8th, and Gasly made up about 5 seconds in 3 laps on him.
On fresher tyres as well. I remember Stroll had his hard tyres on from the pit stop when the safety car was, and Gasly was on fresh mediums, wasn't he? Because he stopped later.
Yeah, because Gasly was one of only 2 drivers that didn't stop under the safety car, him and Perez, which the Perez one was a bit strange, keeping him out on softs.
It was.
Keeping him out Perez wasn't strange. It was bringing him back in just about 2 or 3 laps after the safety car had come in, so that he was then at the back of a massive queue of traffic. That was the odd call.
But it helped keep Stroll in front of him.
True.
Yeah, there is that, yeah. Friend of the show, Kieran, tweeted exactly the same thing. Racing Point, it was a Racing Point tree graphic on when you should pit. Are you Stroll? No. Okay, then you will be pitting.
I mean, Perez made up about, I think over the last 5 laps, Perez made up about 8 seconds on Stroll and finished less than a second behind him. Would he have been allowed to pass? I doubt it.
He may not have listened to what they had to say. Again, another weekend has gone past where we're supposed to have learned about Perez's future, and we haven't learned about Perez's future. It was supposed to be the first Silverstone race, and then it was supposed to be the second Silverstone race, and then Spain. Nothing happened in Spain, and then Belgium. Nothing's happened in Belgium. So how long are we putting this off for now? So.
Can you imagine if they announced Vettel at Monza?
That would be super trolling from Sebastian Vettel.
Or Mugello.
Oh, both good options.
The race that Ferrari wanted, their 1000th race at their own track.
And the 4-time world champion who has failed to win any world championships with Ferrari is just like, oh, hey guys, yeah, I'm off to another team. So, and I look forward to beating you next season.
So, I said before this race, Belgium will be a test of Stroll's actual ability in a fast car. And I still don't know.
I'm quite looking forward to him on the Bahrain, or not the Bahrain, the Sakhir track that we will talk about later on.
The Squoval.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's his
strange one.
thing.
He's good at Monza, as we know, so I was expecting Racing Point to be better in Belgium than they were. I had Perez on for a podium. If it rained, we never saw the rain. Apparently it rained about 3 hours after the race finished, and everyone who was in Belgium was absolutely furious with the weather for arriving 3 hours after the race. Strange one, because you can't really gauge on this race because Stroll finished probably where the car should have finished, and Perez got dumped on by the team for a pit stop, and then finished just
sorry to interrupt.
Him.
Message from Lee: the Russians got me. I think he may have been cut off.
The Russians got me. What is that call? Is he still on the call?
No, he's disappeared
he's
completely.
Off the call, but he's found Facebook.
Are we going to have to do a new quiz tonight called "Where's a Turtle Shunt"?
Yeah, let's do
I'm
that.
here.
Hey!
Oh, there he is.
That was good timing.
I just responded to your message.
I'm actually just looking for a GIF of what you've just said, Flood.
Yeah, the Russians got me again. It's I know too much.
So what was the last thing you heard us say? Because I was just saying I expected Racing Point to be better.
I expect Racing Point to be better as well. I can't help but think. Remember what we used to say about Williams? About how good is that car?
Yeah, we don't know how good the pink Mercedes actually is.
No, we've got because, I mean, it's unless Stroll is now essentially Perez level, because he's racing and outperforming Perez to a certain extent.
That extent being team orders.
Was it team orders?
It was a weird strategy.
It was odd strategy decision.
No, but he was already down the road from him, wasn't he?
Yeah, because
It was pit stop.
Yeah, because Perez didn't get to pit under the safety car.
Yeah, I don't know.
And kept out longer on soft. Now he's good on tyres, but
he was already Stroll was already ahead of Perez, wasn't he? Before that, like Stroll came in under the safety car, but he was already ahead of Perez. It's not like Stroll was behind. They brought him in, and then when Perez stopped, he got.
I think so. I think Stroll was ahead of him on the road, but not. It wasn't like one of them was third and one of them was 10th. I think they were next to.
I think there was a couple of cars between them. I think though, and Stroll out qualify Perez as well.
He did, yeah.
Again, well, not by a huge much amount, I don't think.
No, that's true. I mean, I'm not saying all of a sudden Stroll's like putting Perez in his place, but all of a sudden Stroll is at the same level as Perez. I'm looking at it,
and it's only taken coronavirus.
It's only taken coronavirus and your daddy buying a team. But what I mean is that car that good? It's dragged Stroll up, or is it just allowing him to show what he can actually do?
Well, were you here for the bag sanding thoughts, or did you disappear?
No.
Right.
What's that?
We think. Well, somebody on Discord said, were they possibly running the car underweight in testing, a la Prost 2001? And
why?
Bag sanding.
Perez did qualify ahead of Stroll, by the way.
But that's not new. Force India back in the day, that team is always like low fuel testing.
Yeah, that's what I said here.
Yeah.
So I don't think the car's got exactly the speed that we thought it was going to have.
I think it's a second off the Mercedes. I just don't think the two. I think Perez is a perfectly fine Formula One driver. I don't think he's a race winner or a championship contender.
I also. Oh, sorry, Lee. Go on.
I was just going to say I don't quite know what Stroll is yet. I do think if you stuck Daniel Ricciardo in that car, I think Daniel Ricciardo would be above where he had like the Renault, for instance. I think he would be closer to the Red Bulls in that car, if not sort of on pace with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd quite like to see Danny Ricciardo in that car. That would be interesting.
Yeah, I also think that the mid pack fight is, and I think this is something to do with it, but I think it's very track dependent.
Yeah,
and I think this one and maybe Monza as well is going to suit AlphaTauri and Renault, whereas McLaren might not be necessarily right at the sharp end, and slightly more sweeping, a sweeping course like Mugello. Not too dissimilar to Austria, really, but that might suit McLaren more. So McLaren might find themselves at the sharp end of the mid-pack fight there, and Renault might drop back again. I just think it's going to be very circuit dependent for the rest of the season.
Maybe. I still think that Renault look, and they have done for a couple of races now, look to have the what sort of, I don't know, it depending on where Racing Point land, but the third, fourth best car. I think their car clearly looks better than the McLaren now.
It's definitely looking like they're moving forward, aren't they, Renault? They're definitely improving as things have gone on.
Yeah, I think Renault have now caught up to be where they should have been this time last year.
I think Ocon skews it as well, because you've only got one. Almost like Red Bull to a certain extent. I think that car is capable of doing what Verstappen's doing. I don't think Verstappen is necessarily. I'm sure he's driving a very quick car quickly, but I don't believe that he's dragging the extra speed out of a Red Bull. I think that Red Bull is a good Red Bull like we're used to seeing. I just think Albon's underperforming in it, in the same way as I think the Renault is a good mid-grid car, probably top of the midfield, and it's only Daniel Ricciardo that's actually doing the business in it.
Except in Belgium, Ocon was on it yesterday.
Oh no, he was on it, but he was still behind Daniel Ricciardo. I mean,
by one place.
I think it skewed it for the season, not necessarily just Spa, but when we've been looking at Renault, I think it skewed where they've been, because we've been looking at one guy doing well and one guy doing badly.
Or it could be a case of it's taken Ocon this long to really adapt to getting the potential out of the Renault.
Absolutely.
Because he was pretty matching Ricciardo for pace during the race. He got stuck behind Albon a little bit longer towards the end, but managed to pass him on the last lap and finished. Was it only a couple of seconds behind Ricciardo? Yeah. So hopefully this is like the beginning of something good for Ocon, because we've always thought he was a good talent, but I certainly have.
I've always questioned him. I still question whether he has enough to bring to get a second chance.
Yeah, I don't know that he's the Mercedes prodigy that we thought he might be, but he's hopefully this is the beginning of the rest of a good season.
Because Mercedes have never got it wrong in the past, Verline.
Exactly, yeah.
He was the second coming.
Of what?
Hamilton. He even had the hair and everything. Which is something, strangely, that Lewis didn't have all that long ago.
Yes.
Yeah. Lewis has hair intermittently, and it's quite odd.
He can afford to have whatever hair he wants.
Yeah.
There is definitely a degree of aftermarket going on.
Has anyone seen the hair transplant adverts with is it Shane Warne, the cricketer?
And Darren Goff.
And Darren Goff, the other cricketer. Now, there is a rule about hair transplant adverts.
They're terrible.
They can only be presented by former cricketers with unconvincing rugs and wooden delivery.
When I watch that advert, I always think to myself that Shane Warne turns around, like literally, like the camera goes off, and he goes, "So I get paid now, yeah?"
He's been doing them for years as well, hasn't he? So it must be good money.
Well, it's not good hair.
Exactly. There's got to be some benefit.
It's fine hair. If you've got no hair, then it's probably the best option of hair you can have.
Yeah, but it looks like a doormat.
I love the idea of having hair like Formula One drives. So he's got like hair for the next 6 months with an option of another 2 years. Should he choose to keep it?
I mean, there is what one of the cricket commentators, David Lloyd, aka Bumble, who describes it as a dead squirrel.
Yeah, but didn't he once go on like a 5-minute ramble about how he was getting Mrs. Bumble some ladders for her birthday?
Yeah, that is also
a character.
True. He calls her the nest of vipers.
Uh-huh.
You see, I know that so the day will come eventually when I probably have to shave my head, and I'm okay with that. I'm all right with having a shaved head. Being bald is nothing to be ashamed of. I don't think.
Apparently, it is if you're an ex-cricketer.
Yeah, I don't know why. Anyway, we've gone way off on a tangent.
I fear we have veered slightly.
We were talking about Renault. Talking of which, Cyril Abiteboul's hair has re-emerged.
Now, where's he going to get the tattoo if Danny Rick gets the podium? Because according to Danny, that bet is definitely on, and Cyril should watch out.
Cyril, in an interview also said the bet is on, and I am a man of my word, and should he get a podium, I will do it.
Yeah, but nobody knows what the fuck the word is.
That sounds like a man that doesn't have a great deal of faith in his car. Which is odd, because given yesterday's performance, that I'd be worried if I was Cyril Abiteboul.
Was it David Croft on Sky Sports surmising that maybe it was a honey badger on his backside?
Yes.
If Daniel Ricciardo got a podium. Obviously, that's totally unsubstantiated.
And if Ricciardo doesn't get a podium, is his side of the bet get his lips sewn together so he talks like Cyril?
There was a pre-race interview, wasn't there, with Cyril Abiteboul? And I could not understand half of what he said. The mask didn't help, so I couldn't lip read.
Yeah, it was a difficult listen. I remember trying to focus on it. I can't remember what he said. It must have been good stuff.
Yeah, all in all, though, a good weekend for Renault because they were quick in practice. I think Ricciardo was second in Friday practice, and then Ocon was second, I think, in FP3. And then, qualifying went well for them. Ricciardo qualifying fourth is amazing. I
actually thought at one point he was going to hang on to third.
Yeah, I did. And then, during the race, you thought, maybe they're going to slip back. And they would have done, as I said, if it rained. They really sort of threw all their eggs in the basket of it's going to stay dry. But they got it right. And when you gamble like that and it goes right, you look like heroes, and they look like rock stars rather.
I was going to say, come on.
Yeah. They did look like rock stars. So well done, Renault. That was a really good performance.
Yeah, definitely worked. Right, Red Bull next. Are we calling this a binary performance, third and sixth?
I don't think so.
I think it was
a bit better from Albon.
I was going to say exactly the same thing.
Yeah, a bit better from Albon. Still not quite. And he admitted it. That anybody who had Sky TV would have seen the interview with Albon as well. He admitted he's not quite 100% confident with the car as he would like to be. He needs to have more confidence in the car, so they're working together on that. But his
right, can I ask what more you want though? And I don't mean to turn this into an Albon hate campaign because I like Albon and I want him to do well. But yeah, well, no, the massive but is like you've got the second best car on the grid.
Yeah, but you need to be able to push it to 100% of your abilities. Yeah, otherwise, if you don't have the confidence in the car to do that,
right? How come Albon's different to every other driver we've had before? Every other driver we've had before, if you put him in the second best car and he doesn't perform, we'd be saying they need a new driver. For some reason, and I think it's just because he's nice, Albon seems to be getting a free pass.
It's because there isn't a backup option. The two backup options they've got in AlphaTauri have already been the option.
I mean a free pass from media and fans.
I see.
I don't mean a free. Yeah, I don't mean a free pass from Red Bull because I still think that if he doesn't sort this out before the end of the year, I think he'll be out. And
I would agree. Yeah. I don't think he's getting a free pass. Not especially not from us either. I just think that it's intrinsic of Red Bull now, isn't it, to have I think Martin Brundle said it perfectly yesterday, and I'm just going to paraphrase exactly what he said. They had the golden ticket when they had Max and Danny in the team, and then they lost Ricciardo, and they had to kind of decide who was going to go up into the team. They went with Gasly. That didn't work out. They threw Albon in. He did okay for the rest of the season that he was in, but he hasn't managed to level up from last season. So he's kind of doing the same job that he was doing last year, but he needs to do better.
I think he was closer last year, though. But this is closer to Vettel, and sorry to Max, but I don't know whether he was closer to Max because he was slower, or has Max just took himself up a gear?
Yeah, exactly. I think it could be a case of Verstappen's doing the Alonso job, and Albon's, perhaps a little bit behind where the car probably should be.
Yeah, but the problem he's got is, Bottas for all we moan about the, we'd have wanted George Russell in that car next year. If most Formula One fans are honest, if you're not a Bottas fan, you probably prefer George Russell in the car just to see what he could do. But Bottas, especially this weekend, proved why, as long as Hamilton's in that team, and as long as they're winning races and championships, why would Mercedes get rid of Bottas? He's a perfect number 2 to Lewis Hamilton, and that's what Red Bull need.
Yeah, that's not unfair.
They've been doing a lot of Albon hyping this week as well with Red Bull. I noticed when they did their press release after the race yesterday, the headline for the press release was Alex Albon takes 6th, not Max's podium.
Yeah. The other thing I noticed was the fact that he was Albon, the post-race interview you were talking about, how honest it was, where he hasn't really been allowed to say things like that, I don't think, in the past. So I don't know what that means, if it means anything.
Yeah, we'll have to see. But yeah, I do agree in that Albon needs to be closer to Max Verstappen to guarantee that he's got a seat for next year, because otherwise I think Red Bull will just have to look elsewhere, and it will have to be outside of the Red Bull bubble.
Well, they're going to have to do it soon as well, because let's just say that car was slightly better, and let's say it was capable of challenging for wins, maybe not on a permanent basis, but where we kind of hoped Red Bull would be, because I think we all thought Mercedes were going to be the team to beat.
Like somewhere, say, Austria, and then gets taken out by, say, Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, but we thought they'd be able to contend for the whole season. We thought Max was going to have a chance to fight for a championship. I don't believe that they can fight for a championship with Albon as the second driver, because they have no options for Max Verstappen when it comes to strategy, and that's how Red Bull have always done their damage.
Yeah, with Max and Ricciardo, and then Vettel and Webber before that.
Yeah. They've always done the damage on strategies, and I just Max is alone. There's 2 Mercedes drivers. Maybe now and again you might even get a Ricciardo or a Racing Point in the mix up there as well. And while trying to beat 2 Mercedes, Max is on his own.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. Lewis Hamilton said something very similar as well, didn't he?
Oh, did he?
Yeah. Some people gave him some shit for it, but he said, Max is out there. Literally just said Max is out there on his own. But it was the positive take from it was a better performance from Albon. He needs to do better than that, though.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, yeah, 4th.
Or
At
even
least.
5th. 5th would be better than 6th.
He did get overtaken on the last lap.
He did.
Yeah.
And he did have the medium tyres as well, which I think Red Bull admitted. They just thought, well, let's try something different, see what happens. Didn't work.
Yeah, he had to nurse he was the only driver to nurse the mediums to the end from the safety car, wasn't he?
He was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a surprising choice. Not quite Racing Point surprising, but still. So that just leaves Mercedes.
I thought Bottas was going to give it a go at the end of the straight on lap 1, and as soon as Hamilton went into that second sector and came out of the second sector 1.4 seconds clear, I was like, okay, well, that's done then. The only thing that's going to stop this is a safety car, which we did get, but I think it was a bit too early. It was just as the pit window was opening. It either needed to be a lot earlier than that, and for somebody to dive in and make a daredevil stop, or a lot later than that, and it just nothing happened up front at all, really, did it? Bottas comfortably had a gap to Verstappen. Hamilton comfortably had a gap to Bottas.
Yeah, and it looked like there might have been something, didn't it, for a split second where Bottas like set the fastest lap of the race and sneaked into DRS zone for like 2 seconds, and then Hamilton finished like 1.8 seconds up the road from him by the end of the lap.
Yeah,
I mean, Bottas being told he wasn't allowed to use an overtake, which then Toto said that was a breakdown in communication because we want them to race.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing was, I don't feel that was Bottas's. It wasn't Bottas being told he wasn't allowed to do it. Like the message was they weren't allowed to use it on each other, wasn't it? But
what it should have been, according to Toto, was if you've only got one left, you're not allowed to use it on each other.
Yeah, but you get the ERS sort of would constantly build it back up, wouldn't it? And the plan at that point of the race was obviously for Mercedes to try and build a gap back to the others, so that they had the pit stop. And I think they did have a pit stop over Ricciardo, but Verstappen obviously kept within that pit stop window, which meant they couldn't make that second stop securely without definitely losing track position. So obviously in that point of the race where Valtteri got that message, that was saying, we need to. That's how I read it anyway. I didn't think it was a case of like, oh, they're not allowed to race each other.
Well, no, Toto came out and clarified that they are, and Bottas shouldn't have been told that, and it didn't reach the pit wall.
Oops.
So, I mean, the main sort of excitement of the race with the Mercedes was when the graphic came on screen that both of them had 10% left on the front tyres.
Which again,
with about 4 or 5 laps to go, and it's like, oh, we're going to get Silverstone 2 all over, Silverstone 1 all over again, and we didn't.
Well, no, we didn't, and because I thought about that, I thought, oh, this is an interesting one. What's going on here? Thinking that something might go on with the tires. Maybe they'd have to slow right down, and chance for something explosive to happen, tires or something else between the drivers if one of them had to slow right down to manage a tire right at the end of the race. But then I thought, wait, Albon's still on mediums. That's what the thing that made me think. It was almost like, I think that tire graphic was thrown up there to stop people falling asleep.
Exciting graphic.
Because Hamilton checked the tyres at the end, and he said, well, we were a bit worried about the tyres, but there's plenty of rubber left on them. So there was nothing wrong with those hard tyres at the end of the race. Albon got to the end on mediums.
It was kind of 2020's greatest hits. Mercedes get told to stay off the curbs, and according to AWS, the tyres have got 10% left. But it just wasn't happening.
It just wasn't true.
No, it wasn't true. What's worse, the tyre graphics or the fucking virtual fan cam?
Oh. Fucking hell.
The virtual fan cam with the Verstappen doing a shoey.
Yes, that's exactly what I was about to say. What the fuck was wrong with that guy?
Lots.
So Verstappen and then doing a shoey.
Yes.
What are you doing, man?
It made me very angry at the time. I missed a whole Leclerc pit stop. I was that livid at the guy.
He was only missing giving it the Vettel finger at the end, wasn't he?
Oh, Christ.
Like the crooked finger.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And he was on for ages as well. It was
they
for
replayed
ages.
it about twice or 3 times. Fuck.
I thought he was replacing the notebook at one point. He was there that long.
I reckon if you go to Belgium, they're still playing it now.
Yeah, there's an interesting fact. Because there was no notebook this week, and because there was bugger all going on in the race, Sky actually finished their coverage half an hour early.
Was it not a full hour? I thought it was an hour.
No, it was half an hour. It was meant to finish at 5 and it finished at 4:30.
I clocked it how quickly it finished because I was surprised when they said, right, bye. All right.
They'd had enough as well, I think.
And of course, lack of Ted until next week.
Well, that's what I miss sometimes because I think Ted's notebook, especially a race like that, is generally more entertaining than watching the race.
He'd have had some good takes on Ferrari, I suspect.
I think he's going to have some good takes on Ferrari this coming weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hell yes. In the meantime, we need rock stars and wankers.
Oh, wanker.
Renault for rock stars.
Yeah.
wanker for Giovinazzi, A, for taking out Russell, because no, but also the safety car at that time kind of forced everyone onto a one-stop strategy and made it a very boring race.
That's a quite protracted explanation of why he would be a wanker.
Yeah, wanker, twofold wanker.
Yeah, I would not disagree though. That's Giovinazzi for wanker.
Yeah, another rock star, friend of the show, Johnny Herbert, called in to do the driver steward job at the last minute when Derek Warwick couldn't be there.
Mysteriously, Derek Warwick couldn't be there the day after his birthday. Not calling hangover or anything, but just saying.
Odd that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe he didn't want to test for COVID. I don't know.
A little bit hungover. Do you want something poked down your throat?
You would fancy it, to be fair.
Yeah, not really.
Yeah. Any others?
Ferrari as wankers for obvious reasons.
No, they get the participation trophy award for this
It's some
weekend.
good entertainment, though, isn't it?
So
they
I was
won
finding
this race last year, and they didn't just win the race last year. I mean, after the first sector, much like Mercedes did this weekend, they went on to dominate the race last year.
Yeah, they didn't just win the race last year. They won the race and cheated.
Yeah, exactly. They won the race by
Cheating.
Yes, it was a
Dishonest performance. I've got more of these.
Hang on, Paul. Wait there. Because of what happened with Antoine Hubert and obviously Charles Leclerc being a close friend of his, it was an emotional occasion. I get the feeling like that's all been ruined now because it was quite clear. Not so much from the FIA sort of thing, like, well, we've told the technical regulations Ferrari are doing something they're not allowed to do anymore, and then all of a sudden they stopped winning. But they've come to this year, and they're really poor. So how far they were cheating, I'm not entirely sure, but they definitely were, and it's tainted that kind of memory of Charles Leclerc's first win for me personally.
When you put it in those terms, yeah, definitely.
I think it's tainted everything Charles Leclerc's done when he got in a Ferrari. The pole positions, like wins, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So same goes for Vettel. Don't be wrong, it's anything done in a red car now, in the hybrid era. I think has to be looked at with a bit of a squiff eye.
Well, do you remember Monza last year? Leclerc being a bit naughty and having a battle was Hamilton, I think, wasn't it, where he pushed Hamilton onto the grass and it was just like, ooh, that was right on the cusp of being a fair race. They seemed pretty equal on power. And it was a great moment for seeing a Ferrari winning at Monza. But again, that's kind of, given where Ferrari are now, and we all think that it's because of their cheating, it really takes away the moment that happened last year. Because, I like to see good moments happen in motorsport, and a Ferrari winning at Monza is a good moment, but not if they're fucking cheating.
Yeah.
Although the least good moment happened at Monza last year with the qualifying.
Oh, with the queuing.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, with the queuing up, yeah. I thought we might get some of that in qualifying at Belgium, actually, but we didn't, did we?
There was a lot of complaints about it on Friday during practice.
It happened quite a lot in the F2 as well, didn't it? So I wonder if maybe a quiet word might have been had before the F1.
Did anyone see the FP3 queue as well for the fast lap when Grosjean was already on a fast lap?
And he just powered through them all.
Oh my God, they were all doing like 20 miles per hour and Grosjean just sailed down the outside at 10 times the speed.
I bet that shit them up, seeing him coming.
Yeah,
that reminded me of the guy who got the signs wrong during the TT and went through the pit lane at racing speed.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Terrifying.
Can't remember who that was.
It was the now sadly late Paul Shoesmith.
But that looked absolutely terrifying. Right. We've got Italy to look forward to next week, but we'll do a bit of news first. Because there is a little bit. Now, apparently fans are going to be let into Mugello in 2 weeks' time.
Ferrari 1000th Grand Prix. Is it officially called the Tuscan Grand Prix? Is that correct?
Oh, I thought it had something else.
Emilia Romagna.
That's what I had in my head.
No, Emilia Romagna is Imola, isn't it?
Oh, is it? Oh, fuck knows then.
Christ knows.
I'll look this up. You talk amongst yourself.
I think Mugello is officially the Tuscan Grand Prix.
Will fans want to go? Will fans actually want to go and watch Ferrari get stuffed?
That's the thing. We could also see, should it happen, Lewis Hamilton win his 91st race at Ferrari's 1000th
they won't
Grand
like
Prix.
That. It is the Tuscan Grand Prix. You are very correct.
The Mugello's a Tuscan Grand Prix.
Yes.
Thought so. But yeah, I don't know that any Ferrari fan is going to want to watch their team finish 12th and 13th, or 13th and 14th, when Lewis Hamilton could very well equal Michael Schumacher's record at what is supposed to be a celebration of Ferrari at a circuit that Ferrari owned.
At a race that was created on Ferrari's request, practically.
Yeah. It seems like... And of course, we have to get Monza out of the way first, and Lewis Hamilton may not win in Monza. A whole load of other things can happen. But on his current form, and on Formula One's current form, it does look like he may be able to equal Schumacher's record at Mugello. And that's just no fan of any team would want to see their greatest legend be toppled.
You know that finger in the air. It's a different finger and it's pointing in a slightly different direction, and it's Lewis Hamilton's.
What finger in the air? What?
The Vettel finger in the air.
Oh, that one.
Yes.
Yeah, the crooked finger.
Yes, it'll be straighter, a different finger the other way around and pointing at Ferrari fans.
Yes, yeah, quite possibly. Yeah, I don't know. Mugello's a nice circuit. We haven't had any car racing there for a while, though, have we? I don't think, as in like single seater Formula 1, Formula 2.
Not single seaters, but the I was watching the Ferrari Challenge from there.
Right.
Surprisingly, a series that's run by Ferrari, containing nothing but Ferraris.
No, they weren't data gathering or anything.
Yeah, races at a Ferrari-owned circuit.
Am I right in thinking that Mugello, and I know I'm getting ahead of myself here, but Mugello is quite a sweeping circuit. Is it very similar to the second sector in Belgium?
Do you know what? Yeah, looking at it, not dissimilar, perhaps.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of fast corners, and there's a couple of. So, yeah, and who totally ruined everyone in the second sector of Belgium?
Racing Point. Oh, hang on.
Mercedes, yeah. So, I don't know. It's great that Italy has managed to get on top of the whole COVID thing and can allow people into races. How many tickets they're going to sell and whether people still have to be distanced and wearing masks, I'm not sure. I would imagine so.
It'll be good to see an actual crowd and not, Max Verstappen shoey guy or Lando Norris milk drinking fan.
Yeah, they can not attend.
And Nico Rosberg.
Oh, he's
Don't
busy.
forget Nico Rosberg. Nico Rosberg was in was it the Hungarian Grand Prix where a beige Rosberg appeared next to a beige lamp.
Yes. I'd forgotten about the beige lamp.
Yeah, but don't forget he's the German equivalent of a dragon now, isn't he?
A lion.
Yes.
Because
German lion, Nico Rosberg.
Yes, because he's appearing on the German Dragon's Den called Lion's Cave, and he's one of the lions. Giving advice on investments and investing his own money. So buy shares in beige.
Didn't he invest in Formula E before it was a thing, though? I think he does genuinely have some pedigree in the investing.
He has a huge portion of the I can't remember, is it Ocean One, the cleanup campaign where the automated boats that go out and collect the plastic from the sea. He put something ridiculous like $1 million into that.
Fair play.
Didn't know that. I mean, green's a bit too non-beige for him, isn't it? Right, next thing. We get to see the Squoval in Bahrain for the Sakhir Grand Prix.
Well, the calendar's finalised now, isn't it?
Yeah, am I right in thinking that it's now Bahrain 1 and Bahrain 2? And it's not Bahrain 2 and Bahrain 1 as...
No, it's Bahrain and it's Sakhir.
Because F1 was saying at first Bahrain 2, then Bahrain 1.
Yes.
They were.
Because they'd kept Bahrain, I think, in I don't think it was its original slot, but I think they'd moved the original date and then added a second one in, and clusterfuck.
But the Sakhir Grand Prix is going to be on the. It's officially called the Perimeter Circuit, but it's a squoval.
It's called People have referred to it as an oval, and I wondered how'd you get an oval at Bahrain? It's not an oval. It's Sector 1 squiggly bit that they last used in 2010, and then Sector 3.
It's a square with some zigzags.
Yeah, if you asked a kid to design a circuit, that's probably what they'd come up with.
The Grand Prix of DRS is what it's going to be formally referred to as.
Yeah,
well, they reckon the lap time is going to be under a minute, so it could have more laps than will have more laps than any race in history.
It'd probably be the shortest Grand Prix ever held as well, won't it, if that's the case?
Possibly. 87 laps, they reckon, of less than a minute.
Well, who knows? I mean, I'm down for a change. But Bahrain's not what you call the greatest of circuits, is it? So,
is it going to be a night race again as well?
Yeah, I would have thought
exciting.
So.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
Because
they don't look you see in the outside.
Yeah, it does work, doesn't it, as a twilight race? It has been better.
Yeah, it has been. Yeah, you mean you can't see the protesters in the dark, can you?
That helps as well.
It's like everybody, is it? That's why we have slave quarters, because it's when you're having your lunch, you don't want to have to look at those people.
Right, where are we next? AlphaTauri test. Yeah, Yuki Tsunoda is getting a Honda-sponsored, I assume, test in the AlphaTauri.
I would imagine so, yes. He is in the Red Bull Junior program, and he will have enough points for a super license if he is 5th or higher in F2, which could very well be. So they're obviously eyeing him up as a potential AlphaTauri driver for next year.
I think it'd be good for Formula One if he gets in. It's Honda having having someone in there. So hopefully make them commit a bit more as well.
Much like Takuma Sato.
I was going to say,
have
Honda had a driver in F1 since Sato?
Don't think so.
Not properly.
No, Matsushita was on the Honda program, wasn't he? But I think he got dropped.
Yeah, they've had a few in F2. They've had a few Honda-sponsored Japanese drivers that just haven't quite had enough.
Was Kamui anything to do with Honda?
No, he was Toyota, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
Of course
Same was,
he
he came in with Toyota and then joined Sauber afterwards.
Yeah, that's it. Mm.
So I mean, it'll be the first sort of Honda-backed Japanese driver. I mean, Honda basically ended up funding Super Aguri at first just to keep Sato in a seat, didn't they?
I think so.
Yeah.
Very, very quick rise as well. Yuki Tsunoda. He was Japanese F4 champion in 2018.
Bloody hell!
Did F3 last year, F2 this year.
That is shifting him through the ranks. That is a lot of backing that Honda are giving him.
Mm. I think Honda should buy their own team.
It didn't end well last time.
It didn't. No, that's fair.
It ended on fire.
It ended literally setting the world on fire.
What a fucking shambles.
Yeah, what was it? What was it you said? I think it was you that told me, Lee. For the first of the Earth car seasons, the car was designed with all the measurements in metric, and the wind tunnel was calibrated in imperial. So the wind tunnel measurements were slightly out.
Yeah.
Kind of defeats the whole purpose of having one, really, doesn't it?
Does, yeah.
I like the fact that the whole Earthworks thing was supposed to be like a sort of a green thing, like a green stamp on Formula One, and they probably did more for the carbon footprint than the rest of the teams. The amount of times they were on fire. They own a hole in the ozone now.
Yeah, that was.
Remember Brazil 2008. Lewis Hamilton won the world championship and Felipe Massa won the race, but was crying on the podium because he didn't win the world championship. Meanwhile, Jenson Button was struggling to put his steering wheel back on a car that was literally on fire. And then the following year, he was world champion in Brazil.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Like if they hadn't have pulled out that year, because obviously the Brawn car was going to be a good car, and the Honda engine was always grand. You know, like they had like one of the better engines. So I still think he could have won that world championship with a Honda engine in the back of it instead of Mercedes.
I think that would quite likely, yeah.
Yeah. So it just makes you wonder, doesn't it? You know, if that would have happened, Honda would have all of a sudden been world champions then.
And no Mercedes.
No Mercedes. Your Ross Brawn would have probably stayed on as team principal in that role. Multiple time world champion Jenson Button. What a shame.
Could have been.
Lee, it's time for your medication.
What for this erection I have?
No, we're not doing those adverts this week. All right, this will bring you back down. Haas have said all options are open for their lineup for 2021. Now,
Clean the board, start again.
One of those options is keeping on Grosjean and K-Mag yet again.
I don't think that's a good option.
I get the feeling Grosjean wants to quit.
What gives you that idea?
Nothing.
Ted Kravitz the other week saying that when he spoke to Grosjean, he wasn't even looking forward to next season.
No, that's not what he said. He said he said he wasn't looking forward at next season. Not he wasn't looking forward to it. He was taking it a race at a time. That's what they.
Oh, I took what he said as he wasn't making plans for next year like he normally does at this stage of the year.
Yeah, no, he wasn't making plans for it because I don't think anyone's given him a contract yet.
Yeah, I'm not good to Steiner and not Haas and nothing to do with the organisation, but I made it quite clear even when we had our guest Reese on a few weeks ago, I think Haas should have changed their driver lineup probably 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think particularly with Hülkenberg being in the driver's market for this season, last year a few eyebrows were raised that they still stuck with Grosjean when they could have had Hülkenberg.
And then they look like wankers when Hülkenberg qualified third at Silverstone too.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially like with potentially Perez being like free as well.
Yeah. They could have Perez and Hülkenberg if they wanted.
Yeah, and they would get some fucking. I mean, I know like Gene Haas is like nobody's accusing him of being skint, but there's no sponsorship really on that car, and I'm pretty sure some Perez sponsorship money coming into Haas would make Gene Haas awfully happy.
Yeah, because he does come with a good chunk of the sponsorship, doesn't he? Like about 10 million,
it's about $10 million, yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be a good option for Haas.
Yeah, I'd like to see Hülkenberg in there, and I think Perez as the second driver wouldn't be, or in the other car wouldn't be a mistake if he's available.
Do you know what? I think it's kind of that rate. I mean, hopefully Haas will be a bit further up the grid. We expect and hope that, or I hope that Aston Martin's going to end up actually being a challenger come 2022. I kind of think mid-grid is where Perez belongs.
Yeah, maybe.
He's never really shown that he's got that, I don't know.
It's difficult, isn't it? 'Cause I think we know the McLaren thing came a little bit too early, but has he ever really done enough to have another shot? Not so sure.
I think there would have been more potential there if he hadn't gone to McLaren then, and maybe a year later going into a top team. Because
he nearly won the Malaysian Grand Prix until his engineer told him not to fuck it up.
Yeah.
Which is the first way to make somebody fuck things up is to tell them not to fuck it up.
Yeah.
And then he nearly won in Monza as well that year because he looked after his tyres so well. I can remember. I think Hamilton won that year and said to him in the green room before they went up onto the podium, like green room, like it's a TV show, said to him that you were going to have me if that was a couple of laps later. I'm lucky the race finished when it did.
But let's not also forget that he then got a McLaren contract halfway through that season and proceeded to do more damage than Unibomber.
Yeah, like I say, a little bit too soon. I think he got Ron broken.
Yeah.
But no, I think Haas and Hulk would Perez and Hulk, would be a good one for Haas.
Yeah, well, they were teammates, weren't they, before? So they get on well. Hulk was, replacing Perez was a great thing for Racing Point. It worked really well for them. There doesn't appear to be any animosity between them. Didn't they have a video phone call?
When Perez was waiting for his result for the second race that he missed, they were FaceTiming.
Yeah.
But there was no threats of peeing in the seat this time.
No, I think that would be poor etiquette.
Right, so Italian Grand Prix this weekend. Monza, the current spiritual home of Ferrari.
Yeah.
The prancing horse and red flags are everywhere.
It's going to be a wake, isn't it? Rather than a home.
I was just going to say, do you know where else you call spirit homes? Graves.
It might be the grave for Mattia Binotto as head of Ferrari. I don't think he's necessarily been given a fair crack of the whip, but because I think whatever was happening in Ferrari was happening before he took over. But he's not swept the mess away, has he? He's not cleaned it up and sorted everything out.
It's got worse.
Yeah, he needs to. I don't know what to suggest, but Binotto can't be there, can they? He can't be there after this year if it carries on like this.
No,
the Sky team pulled a good point up because he was he was involved in like the technical side of Ferrari, where they seem to be struggling about like more now as well, and whether moving him from there to team principal has left a vacuum in the technical side as well.
Because I don't think they've ever replaced him, have they? They've never actually hired another technical director. They've just appointed people kind of around the role.
No, they've moved him out of the technical side in the last 2 weeks to concentrate on running the team and put a technical head in, but not somebody with full decision-making abilities.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
No. I mean, by the way things are going, I think they might actually just be a head. Like,
just a disembodied head.
Well, I mean, your man, what's his name, John Elkann, the chairman of the group, has said that they don't expect to win races until 2022. So that might buy Binotto a bit of time, but I don't know.
But that means they expect to win races in 2022.
Yeah.
Something needs to change.
So whoever's in charge in 2022 is already looking at a struggle when they don't.
Yeah, and also we've already discussed that the engines don't change. So,
and the thing is as well, with such a big rule shake-up as well, you can't you can't guarantee that. It's like it's one of those things when people that are moving teams, especially right now, that are moving teams that are going to be where they are in 2022. You roll the dice. That's what everybody that's moving teams is doing, and I just don't believe that if Ferrari if they can't be trusted to do what they're doing now, why are they going to handle a rule change? In the situation their team is, which appears to be like just obliterated inside. How are they going to handle the rules better, like the rule change better than say Red Bull or Mercedes?
And that's when there's a salary cap as well, so they'll have less funds to do it with.
Yeah.
Because the traditional Ferrari way of getting around any problem is throw a load of money at it.
Yeah, it's to leave Italy broke and pour it into Ferrari.
Yeah. We've already discussed, haven't we? They spend probably, we think, just more than double what Alfa Romeo is spending, and yet Alfa Romeo.
Shandok said that it's about Alfa Romeo's budget is about 40% of Ferrari's.
Wow. Okay, so yeah, under half then, and yet the Alfa Romeo pretty much took them to school this weekend.
I wonder what percentage it works out. If you look at everything that Ferrari gets, if you were to properly audit them, I wonder how much of Italy's GDP it works out at.
Probably a disturbing amount.
I know.
Very, very upsetting amount if you're Italian, I imagine.
Well, I just thought if Jeff Bezos can become like 1% of the US's, then surely Ferrari's a good chunk of Italy's.
Yeah,
I am just tapping out for 30 seconds because Dizzy's done a shit and it smells very bad.
Fair enough.
This is the downside of not being in the old pod room, because we were sealed in there.
More from Sean in the field later.
Right, tell you what.
Pit lane reporter Sean Cowper.
At the moment, she's stuck in the gravel trap.
with a few Romain Grosjeans.
No, I think Dizzy's left a Ferrari engine or two in there.
Oh, fair enough.
Right, let's do the predictions. Obviously, Sean is going to go last. I will do the two absent ones. And Dan has basically said, go for Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen for the rest of the season, unless I tell you different.
This is a wise choice, I feel, from Dan.
Yeah. Dan sends his love to everyone. We had a curry and a few drinks with him on Saturday night. And
hello, Dan.
He says hi, and he will be taking part in a couple of shows later on in the year.
I look.
Well, he's running out of shows to take part in.
Yes.
Well, there's still about 90,000 races left, and only 4 months to get them in.
Exactly.
Right, we've got a guest predictor this week. Friend of the podcast, and ex-Formula Lee winner, Jeff Sharp.
Ex-Formula One winner? Jesus Christ.
Yeah. On iRacing. Well, on the F1 game, he won on that.
Yes, yeah, he did, yeah.
Hello,
Jeff.
He's gone for a Lewis win, Bottas second, and Danny Rick third.
Ooh.
Yeah, given Renault's performance in Belgium, that might not be stupid.
Yeah, well, and as is traditional with the guest predictors, his rock stars are Renault. And suggestion for wankers, I agree with this one, the drivers that don't get their quali laps in because they're fucking around trying to get a slipstream.
Yes. Definitely.
Ferrari.
I think as well, in the absence of Ferrari having any ability, bloke with Italian surname would probably be a popular podium sitter.
What? Rosberg?
Oh, of course, because he feels a bit Italian.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the same.
Right, who's up next?
I'll go.
Go on then.
Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen.
Okay. Can't say as I'm surprised.
I'll go left field. I'll go Bottas, Hamilton,
Verstappen.
I'm just thinking about third place. I'm not so sure. It's I'll Bottas, Hamilton, Verstappen.
Right, Sean, do you want to?
I am going to go Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas.
Not that this season's predictable or anything.
Thanks, Ferrari.
And I am also going to go Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen. I can't see it being any different.
That's exactly what it was in Belgium, so...
Yeah. If you want to get your predictions in, there's a few extra ones for you to do as well. You can predict who's going to get pole, who's going to get the fastest lap, and how many not classified drivers there are.
Don't forget as well, it's that really long run down to the first chicane. So it was totally, not impossible that some drivers could be taken out at the first turn. Possibly front runners, one of those front three.
That is true. There is a chance for variety and to surprise us all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably what happened, but
it
yeah, you never
to
know.
Verstappen last year, didn't it? He got punted quite early on.
Oh, that's true. And there's bound to be somebody that misses the first chicane and has to go down the escape road.
Grosjean.
Somebody usually does it most years. But if you want to take part, go to the website, threelegsfourwheels.com, go to the games section and have a look for the 2020 Prediction League. And you've got until 5 minutes before qualifying starts on Saturday to get your predictions in. See how that goes. Right, shunting time.
I'm ready.
Wow,
Whoa.
that was swift.
Bloody hell. Your time in Russian captivity didn't stop you from being productive.
They've told me what to do.
Is it Danny
They're
Kvyat?
telling you what to say.
Yeah.
Telling you how to think.
It's Russian shunts ask me the questions.
Who's this one from?
Are we ready?
Who's it from?
It is from Dave Jackson. Hi, Dave.
Hi, Dave.
How you doing? I was born
Yes.
Yay.
in. You all right, Paul?
Yeah, I'm just choking. Just choking a bit.
I mean, I love a bit of ASMR. Yeah, I like properly love a bit of ASMR. I listen to ASMR pretty much every night before I go to bed. But the cat purring into the microphone is getting a bit much at times.
Diz.
For the benefit of podcast listeners, that was just the Skype microphone she was purring into, and not
No,
the
she was
pod one.
gumming it like a lunatic. She was gumming at the time.
Loud.
Yeah, she was gumming the mic. Diz, will you piss off for 5 minutes?
I thought you said bumming at first.
She might as well.
Yeah, I was born in 1959.
Right.
Okay.
I won numerous karting events when I was younger and finished second in the British F3 International Series in 1979.
It would have been
International.
20. So, yeah.
Right.
My first F1 Grand Prix was in 1980. Not sure why I said 80 like that.
80.
We go.
Sounds about the right age for Martin Brundle.
It's
Brundle's first Formula One race wasn't until 83 or 84 because he was in Formula 3 with Senna.
Yeah, and would he have been in F3 International?
Possibly.
I was thinking possibly an international driver. Possibly an Alan Jones? Would that have been too late for him to make his debut?
Yeah.
Alan Jones was world champion in 1980.
Ah, that's where I've got 80 from. There we go.
Nigel Mansell? He's too young to be Mansell, isn't he?
Yeah, I think Mansell's about 64? 65?
Yeah, wasn't he 40 when he won his world championship in 92? Or
Yes, that rings a bell.
Actually, yeah, so, 68. Wow. So we're looking for somebody who was notable round, or semi-notable round the early 80s.
Or was a total unknown, because it could go that way.
It could be. It could be an utter random.
Okay, Bruno Giacomelli.
Ooh,
That's a good shout.
that came from fucking nowhere.
And totally from nowhere. From nowhere.
You can't just launch that into the mix with no warning.
Is it
Jesus.
because you were looking at your cat?
Oh, good point, actually, yeah.
Bruno Senna over there.
Yeah, should we go with that one as a first stab in the dark?
Why not?
I have driven for 10 Formula One teams.
Fucking hell.
Okay, we are looking at hardcore journeyman here.
Journeyman.
What about Andrea De Cesaris? Is that roughly around the right time?
They used to drive for 10 different teams in a weekend.
Used to crash 10 different cars in a weekend. But yeah, De Cesaris was still being brought in as like a substitute driver even as late as like 94, I think.
I think at one point they thought about bringing him in to replace Massa.
In the year of your Lord, as in me, 1982, I became the youngest driver to take pole 57 days before my 23rd birthday.
Okay.
We are now into the zone of questions where Sean would have just sat there saying, "Yeah, I got it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Thierry Boutsen?
Buto.
Oh, that is a good shout. He was fairly. Oh shit! Is he driving for them now?
Number 6. I was regarded as a quick driver with talent, however, gained a reputation of being a bit wild.
I'm liking the De Cesaris here.
Yeah. Andrea De Cesaris sounds pretty good at the moment.
To be fair, it's a good job to be regarded as quick if you've been signed up for as a Formula One driver.
There is that.
It is helpful.
2 words, Max Chilton.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily a thing in the 80s either, was it?
No, it was, I have a large amount of sponsorship behind me, or I've taken out a loan.
Max Chilton.
No, that was pocket money. I'll pay you back, Dad. Why does Tom get the fast cars and I don't?
Because Tom chose a reasonable championship.
And can drive.
Something's going wrong when your fucking pocket money's counted in bullion.
Yeah, should we go to Cesaris for this one?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
My final Grand Prix was in Jerez in 1994, where I was replaced by JJ Leto for the last 2 Grand Prix.
Was JJ Leto driving for Benetton then, or was he?
Yes, he was.
Because JJ Leto also drove for Lotus, didn't he? But I don't know that he did it in the same season.
No, he was another driver that just kept popping up for races, usually at Benetton, because...
I'm still liking the idea of Andrea De Cesaris.
You said he was still racing till 94.
Roughly 94, yeah. I think he was a replacement himself for somebody, and I don't know for definite, but I think his first race of the season may have been at Imola that year, that terrible race.
Well, Leto was in the other Benetton, that one.
Yeah,
but I think Benetton that year didn't they had
Jos Verstappen.
They had Jos Verstappen and probably Johnny Herbert at some point.
Yeah, I think Herbert was in the other Lotus probably at that point as well. 94.
Yeah, I think you're definitely onto something with De Cesaris, but we've got a couple more clues, yeah, haven't we?
Yep.
In my later career, I was asked to be part of the Grand Prix Masters, where I finished 4th at Kyalami. Which
I think was the only race that they ever had, because they went bust.
Yeah, which Nigel Mansell won.
Alan Jones couldn't fit into the car.
No. Riccardo Patrese, I think, finished 2nd. It was like watching a Williams in the early 90s. To be honest with you, I can't remember much beyond that.
I remember watching it and Murray was commentating on it.
Yes, he was. Yeah, Murray Walker did the commentary, yeah.
Are you ready for number 9?
Yeah.
I think so.
After racing, I was a successful currency trader in Monte Carlo, reportedly enjoying windsurfing in Hawaii.
Wow.
Okay.
All right, okay, that's a lifestyle, I guess.
It's rather the commute for your hobby, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah.
If you're good at the currency trading, though, you can probably afford such a commute.
To be fair, if you're living in Monaco, I don't think you're worried.
This is very true.
Yeah. Very, very few shopkeepers actually live in Monaco, even if they have a shop there.
Yeah, Mr. Harrod?
I had a fatal accident in 2014 driving a motorcycle on a main road in the city of my birth.
Yeah, it's Andrea De Cesaris.
Are we going for that?
I think so.
Yeah, Andrea De Cesaris died in a motorcycle accident. I wouldn't have said it was as long ago as 2014. I'm pretty sure it was on the outskirts of Rome. I think he was trying to change lanes and was hit by a truck or something.
Chris, do you want to ask the question?
Are you Andrea De Cesaris?
I am Andres De Cesaris.
That'll do.
That is a good. That was a good one. That was a good one.
The Spaffer was I hold the record for Grand Prix race starts without a single victory.
Nico Hulkenberg.
I was going to say, I thought that was Nico Hulkenberg.
Are you slightly more disappointing than Nick Heidfeld?
if any of the listeners aren't quite sure who Andrea de Cesaris is, stroke was, go and have a look at some of his
bike rider.
No. Well, he was a brilliant driver who would find the limit by actually going over it quite often, and the spectacular accidents he had in Formula One cars, and I'm sure there's a compilation on YouTube, there will be, that you could not have that kind of accident today in Formula One and just get out the car and walk away. I don't know how he did it back then, but yeah, it would almost be impossible to have those kind of accidents in Formula One cars these days.
Little known fact, he taught Michael Schumacher how to ski.
And moving swiftly on. How do you send in a total shunt?
You can tweet me and PM me on Twitter, I should say, at a total shunt. I'm also on Instagram, but I'm not. If you search the name, I'm not a total shunt at the minute on things. I am gay for Batterson at the minute.
Of course you
are.
You
have to search for that.
If I can also request a couple of backup shunts sent by email to 3legs4wheels@gmail.com, then I've got the spare pile, which has nearly run out because I didn't realise it was so low after last week when Lee wasn't about. And you can get hold of us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, all at 3legs4wheels, and individually on Twitter we are
at Sean Cowper,
at Flood21,
and at Pablo100. Right. Codemasters have fixed the issue.
Finally.
Yay. Formula Lee, in association with Scott 3D, is back.
Good news, everyone.
We're not going to do Australia again because that just proved to be too difficult to actually get things working. We're going to start with Bahrain. It's going to be a two-week challenge, so you've got until Monday the 14th, 7 o'clock UK time, to get your time in for a lap of Bahrain in the dry. And I think we'll do it in a Renault.
Ooh.
Okie doke.
So
Bahrain in the dry in a Renault.
Yeah, you can send those in on a Facebook direct message, Instagram DM, Twitter DM, do them by email as well, send you screenshots. If you're on PS1, send me a friend request if you already haven't. I'm Pabstar on there, and I'll be able to see your time on the leaderboard. And, of course, there is a prize from Scott 3D for the winner, which will be a 3D printed map of the circuit. And if you want to buy the 3D printed maps, go to our website. We've got a link to there, and there's a voucher that you can put in, voucher code that you can put in for a little bit of a discount from them as well. So see how you get on with that. Right, probably about time for us to bugger off, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, we'll be covering the race on Discord this weekend, qualifying and all the way through the race. I might even be about during practice because I'm off work this week.
Ooh.
Well done.
That's if you're not having your second nap of the day.
I know.
I only had 2 naps today because I only had time for 1 yesterday. All right, I like sleep. It's like my third favourite thing ever. Right, if I can stay awake, we'll be on the Discord for most of the sessions over the weekend, and we'll see you next week with a review of whatever the hell happens in Monza. But I'll bet it's a bad one.
Will.
Bet it's a bad one for Ferrari. And
you watch now; they'll get a 1-2.
Yeah, don't forget to get your predictions in. We'll see you next.
Make sure you don't fall asleep on Discord.
Good call.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.